Well, hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Lake City Adventures. It's been a little while. I have not been good about making videos. If you guys have subscribed to the channel, you probably saw the video of our trip to the Frozen Four that was about a week and a half ago, which was a great trip, awesome video, you should check it out. But to do that, I was off work for over a week, and so when I got back, I had some serious catch up to do and was working almost every single day. So I just haven't had time to make any videos. But today we're gonna try to make another video. We're down in town at the house right now, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head up to the cabins. The solar system, again, one of our other videos, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out, our off-grid 12-volt solar system video. But the solar system at one of the cabins is doing a weird thing where it's powering the devices that are on the DC load output from the charge controller, even when it's turned off. So it shouldn't do that. There shouldn't be any power when it's turned off. But the display says off, and we have a 12-volt fridge. It's a propane fridge, but with a 12-volt igniter that is still running great with the light coming on and everything else. And I have no idea why that is. So I'm gonna go up there and check that out. And I think while we're up there, I might show you guys the off-grid gravity-fed water system that was set up this year, which is pretty cool and a neat design. The problem is that it's trying to snow. It's kind of raining and snowing, so it might be a little wet and a little chilly. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes, but let's go check it out. Here's the weather outside right now. This is backyard. I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but it is definitely raining slash snowing slash sleet slash grapple kind of the thing coming down. It's definitely wet, a little bit icy down there. The thermometer inside says it's 34 degrees, but you know, we can survive. We have a coat and a hat. We'll be fine. So let's go check it out. All right, we are on our way up to the cabins. Before we get up there, this is the Sportsman's Barbecue Station. This is our favorite restaurant in town. If any of you guys are coming to visit Lake City, it looks like it's literally just a gas station. It is an awesome restaurant. These guys have, I think, the best food in Lake City. They have the friendliest staff in Lake City, and they're open 6 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. So nobody else in Lake City does that. These guys support locals more than anybody else, and I think have the best prices and the best food in town. And you should check it out. They've got barbecue sandwiches. They have a mayor's melt, which is like a sourdough burger patty with grilled onions and tomatoes. He does ribs once a week, chicken, pulled pork, sloppy joes, just good selection of stuff. There's actually a theater in the back. They used to do concerts here, and folks would come into town and they would do food and dinner and a concert. It hasn't really happened for a while, so I'm hoping that it's gonna come back. Now, side note, I don't know if you can tell, I know I'm shooting through the window here, but it is seriously sucked in and snowing. But we're just doing a little pit stop here to get a drink on the way up. Drink in hand, snow's coming down. Let's go to the cabins. I'm on the way up the road, and I thought I would just stop and show you guys the ice wall. If you have watched some of our older videos, you saw me walk across the river and check out this ice wall when it was in its prime. It is now mid-spring. I really hope nobody's climbing on this anymore. It looks so sketchy. I mean, there is still some ice up there, but it is falling apart and pretty sparse. So I think the season's actually over now, but I keep thinking that, and then I come down this road and see another climber on it. So I don't know, but it looks like it should be over. This will be down to rock before we know it. We're making our way up, and it is snowing. It's actually pretty awesome. Big old wet flakes. It's right about freezing. So in town, it was really small, almost rain. But coming up here towards the cabins, that's only a few hundred feet higher, but it's high enough that it has turned into full-on snow right now. So we are driving into a snowstorm. All right, we have made it up here to the cabins. It's actually remarkably beautiful up here with this snow coming down. It's not that cold, probably mid-30s. And the water is flowing. We're gonna head up there and show you that after we check out the solar, but the sprinkler is going nuts over here. I'll walk over and show it to you. It's kind of a weird sight with snow on the ground and sprinklers going. Hopefully you can hear it too. The pressure's great. It's shooting way the heck. Well, you can see where it's shooting because there's no snow. The water's melting the snow off. And it's creating this, oh, but I don't want to get wet, but it's creating these cool icicles on the tree here as the sprinkler shoots around, which just looks pretty neat. You can see kind of the circle of water that's being put down. And, you know, not wasting any water here. We do have water rights on Crystal Creek, and it's just taking water out of the creek and then putting it down here to keep the meadow green. And eventually that water just kind of filters its way back down into the river. So it's not like we're using town water. This is all just river water. So let's go inside and check out what the heck's going on with that solar. All right, here's the situation. We're inside the cabin. This is a Norcold propane fridge. It cools based off propane, not electricity, but it requires the 12-volt input to run the igniter and the light in the fridge. It is currently on. Green light. I open the door, light comes on. It's running great. It's cold in there. It's got power. Where the heck is the power coming from? So if I come up here to the remote monitor, you can see that little arrow that goes to the light bulb on the right side. That's the load. It's off, 0 amps. There's no power coming to this fridge right now, but it's powered on. How is that? I don't understand. So we're going to go out and look at the main panel. Yeah, this is definitely weird. Here's main panel, and out here too, it shows there's that arrow going to the light bulb that does not have any blinking dots in it. That means it's off. So there's no power going to the load. So the way this works here is the solar power comes into the charge controller, and then the charge controller has 2 lines that go out to charge the battery bank. Battery bank then goes to the inverter, and then inverter goes to the cabin to give it AC power. So when the inverter is turned on, the cabin has AC power. But the fridge is not plugged into AC power, and the inverter is turned off right now. It's not running. So there's no AC power to the cabin. So what we do is we connect the fridge to this load port right here, which is this blue extension cord that's hardwired into it and goes out to the fridge. And that's on load. So the load is not, it doesn't go through the inverter. It's just a direct DC connection. So it takes the DC voltage from the battery and applies it directly to a load. So you can run a light bulb or something that accepts DC input, which was 12-volt DC input. But it's turned off, so there shouldn't be any voltage. So I'm going to grab my voltmeter, and we're going to check and see if there's voltage across these terminals when it's turned off or when it's turned on, or if it makes a difference. All right, so check this out. I have my handy dandy voltmeter set on 20 volts DC voltage, and we're going to go and check out the load. So this is turned off. Load is turned off. There's nothing flowing to load. And we're going to put 1 probe on the positive, 1 probe on the negative, 13.9 volts. That makes no sense. It's turned off right now. There should be no voltage there. Now, if I come back up here, if I can do it. So now I just turned load on. See the dots running across towards the light bulb? 14 volts. So when I turn it on, it's 14.0 volts. When I turn it off, it's off right now, 13.9 volts. That's bizarre. I don't understand that. I'm going to have to reach out to Windy Nation. But I think mystery solved. That's why the fridge is working. So even when load is turned off, it's still putting out 13.9 volts on the load. So it seems like the on and off part isn't working. Weird. Well, I'll reach out to Windy Nation, and I'll let you guys know what they say. One last check before we head out. So right now that load is turned on. You can see that arrow moving. And when the fridge is turned on, it will show you that it's pulling about 0.4 amps. And that's only on a 12-volt system. So 12 volts times 0.4 amps is 4.8 watts. So that's about what the fridge consumes just to kind of keep that light on and power it, even when the door's not open. So that's why in the winter we turn this off, because the fridge isn't turned on here in the winter. So there's no sense in drawing 5 watts 24 hours a day in the winter when there's no fridge running. But I guess we had it on all winter, or at least there was some degree of voltage to the fridge all winter, because the off didn't work. You can see right now it's snowing outside, literally snowing outside. You can tell, see the snowflakes coming down. But we're still getting about 20 watts on the panels, even through the storm clouds. So that's plenty to keep the batteries fully charged. They are at 100%. All right, so we are leaving the cabin. You see the side-by-side right there. We can definitely sometimes take that side-by-side up to where the water is, but I think today I am just gonna walk it, kind of show you guys the trail and the slope and how steep it is. It's a little bit sketchy in that side-by-side. There's one switchback that's a little bit tight. So here we are. This is kind of where the water comes to, and I can show you, I know it's focusing on the screen, but the place that we're going where the water is kind of up here. So there's a creek called Crystal Creek that I'll show you that runs all the way up here, and it's probably, I don't know, a couple 100 feet at least up that creek, so that we get nice gravity pressures to drive the system. And this is not drinkable water, but it's water that you can use to shower and clean and do all the other stuff you need water for. And then we pack up drinkable water as well. I've looked into making this water drinkable. Maybe I will someday. I don't know. It's possible, but you have to have a lot of pressure and you have to have a lot of filters. So let's go up and show you the tank and the inlet up there at the river, at the stream. And then we'll come back down and I'll show you the filter system. So I just drove up the driveway just a little ways. There's the cabins down there, and then cars parked here. And this is the road across the street here that goes up to the water. This is the actual creek that we're taking the water from. This is called Crystal Creek. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but it's decently loud. It's running pretty good right now. We're approaching runoff season, so there's a lot of pressure coming out of this creek. This is the culvert that runs across the road. And so here's the creek coming down towards the road. And then we're gonna hike up to it. So that's gonna be up this road here. This is gonna be good training for me anyway. If you guys have seen some of the earlier videos, you probably know that we're signed up for a half marathon in November and not at all prepared. Status update. I run being in quotes, yesterday, a 5K, so about 3.1 miles, and did it in about a 14.5-minute pace, which was mostly walking, fast walking, a little bit of running. As of now, I'm able to run like 20 or 30 seconds, then I got to stop and walk. So definitely need to increase that cardiovascular fitness, and this hike will help because it's straight uphill at 9,000 feet. Whew. It's pretty up here. I don't know if the camera really shows how uphill this is, but we are going up. Apologies for my talking because I'm going to be out of breath this whole hike. So there's a little fork in the road here. That's what we just came up, and that's the way up to the water. I was going to show you guys, if you go up here, this is a dead end, but it leads to this naturally occurring spring, which is pretty neat. So here it is. This water just kind of bubbles up out of the ground right here naturally. I'm sure it's a little underground spring that comes off Crystal. I'm not sure. I don't really know where it comes from, but this water just comes out of the ground. So there's a line here too. We capture some of this water that goes down. This is a different water source than our main water. But this spring runs down here, only about 20 feet, I'd say. And then it's gone. So it just kind of goes back into the earth. Some of it goes down this way and trickles down towards Crystal Creek, which is way down there. You can see the water running down there. But really, it just kind of goes back into the ground. And the more there is runoff, the more water there is here. There's actually quite a bit right now. This is more than I've seen before. But this is not the main water system. The main water system, again, is up there. So we got to hike up this road that's kind of above us right now and get up there so I can show you, if I can survive the hike. We're making our way up, and here's the switchback I was talking about. Again, I think it's hard to see on camera how steep this is, but this is a steep little slope right here. kind of drops off to a cliff that you don't want to go over on this side. And you got to negotiate this sharp turn with an ATV to get up going that way. It's not too bad going uphill, but it's a little sketchy going downhill to kind of come down this slope and make this turn right here and go back down this way without sliding off the edge or tipping over. So we're walking it today. And there's going to be, well, never mind. There's normally some beautiful views. Still beautiful because it's snowing, but that's kind of the view today. It's a little bit socked in. Just pausing to catch my breath. Here's the trail we're walking up right now. River is now downhill. Can you see it through the branches down there? There it is. River's running down there. And again, this would be some great views if it wasn't all socked in with clouds. We're almost there. It really isn't that far. I'm just out of shape. But we're coming down here, there's a little bit of a low point, and then we go up this steep part, and the new water is right there. So we'll be there in just a second. Just kind of sitting here hoping I don't get killed by a rock slide, which is not uncommon. You can see a lot of these loose rocks. They come down this hill all the time. And George, my father-in-law, has to clear this road with the bulldozer every year to keep it open because the earth tries to reclaim the road. Let's keep going. All right, we made it. So here it is. So we have this plastic tub, probably about 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. I should say too that I had nothing to do with this. This is my father-in-law's creation and his brainchild. He's been thinking about it for the last probably 2 or 3 years and got it up and running this year, and it's working great. So let me show you the anatomy of how this thing works. Boy, the water is really flowing. It's a lot higher than the last time I was up here. It's probably pretty loud on the video too, so apologies for that. But I'm going to go up to the top where the inlet is, show you that, and we'll walk down, and I'll show you how this thing works. So this is Crystal Creek. It is beautiful up here. A bunch of small waterfalls up here as the water comes down from up high. And then it kind of runs into this little area here next to a rock wall, which makes it real narrow and creates a nice little pond and the ability to make a dam and create a place where we can collect water. So if you see this blue pipe right here, see if I can get down here without busting my butt. It's really loud from the water, so you may not be able to hear a thing because the water is really raging. And there's enough water now that you can't really see it. But this right here is all a man-made dam with just rocks. This line runs underneath the rocks, and at the very end of this line, there is a circular flat filter that's open on both ends. It's about 8 inches in diameter, and it allows the water to pass and keeps the major debris out, the big sticks and rocks and whatnot. So just a passive filter intake there, and then water runs along this line, which I think is probably about a 3-inch line, back towards that tank that I showed you earlier, which you can kind of see right through the trees right there. It's only about 30 feet probably from here to there. And so let's walk over to the tank. Okay, back at the tank. So the whole idea of this thing, there's been a gravity-fed water system up here for years, decades probably. And what it used to be was just that pipe I just showed you with the filter in the water, and then the water just ran down the pipe. And it was pressurized just because of the height of how high we are and the pipe being full of water. But the idea behind this tank, there's a couple of ideas. Number one, it creates a significant buffer so that if there's any air or whatnot that gets into the intake, it gets kind of filtered out here, and the line going down to the cabins has even more pressure just from the weight of the water in this tank. And then number two, not only is there a filter in the water up there where the intake is, but this also acts like a natural filter, so the heavy stuff and debris can settle to the bottom, and you have cleaner water coming out of this tank and going down towards the cabins. So water comes in here with a shutoff valve. We have had this thing freeze, but it did fine. It thawed out. We're not getting that cold at night anymore, probably low 30s, high 20s. So you can see the level that the water comes in is right there. And then on this side is the outlet towards the cabins. That's about half of the way up the water level. And so that creates pressure. This thing stays completely full. So it creates about 2 feet of pressure above that line at this point, not to mention all the pressure created by the gravity drop down to the cabin. So there's extra pressure, but then more importantly, that water coming from the stream flows into this tank. And like I said before, you can't really see it unless I take the lid off, but if I do that, it's going to spill everywhere. But you can see some muck down there in the bottom of the tank that's kind of showing through. And so this naturally, because it's off the bottom, filters a lot of that junk out. And then this is just an outlet, so all the extra water, and that's all extra water despite that sprinkler running, just flows out here. So there's plenty of water. I think both cabins could have sprinklers going and showers going, and we'd have plenty of pressure. And then on this side at the very bottom is a little drain that drains literally the bottom of the tank. And so we can come up here every now and then, open that guy, and let it flush. And you know, the fresh water coming in will flush all that sediment off the bottom and keep this tank relatively clean. So I think it's an ingenious design. Let me know what you think. Put in the comments down below what you think about it, or if you have any suggestions. But we have shutoffs, both the inlet and the outlet, which is nice. We didn't used to have that. You had to come up here and pull the filter out of the water and kind of wreck the dam. Now you just turn this valve off. And then this line goes hundreds of feet. And I might even just walk it now. We'll see if I feel like it. But kind of across the mountainside and then down across the road and down towards the cabins. So it's working great. It's good to see water flowing like that. It's under quite a bit of pressure. And we have better pressure down at the cabins than we've ever had. And our hope is that we have cleaner water than we've ever had too. So we'll see how many filters we go through. We have filters down there too at the cabin where the water goes into the cabin. I'll show you that in a few minutes. And so we'll see. I hope that this water's cleaner this year. It sure seems like it should be, because like I said, a lot of that junk that's down there at the bottom of this tank, it used to just flow down the pipe. But now it gets caught in this tank and you have cleaner water coming down the pipe. So that's it. That's the design of that water system. It's beautiful up here, although holding my phone, my hand is freezing. But it's a pretty cool scene up here, to be up here with this snow when it's not too cold and it's still accessible. Hopefully one of the last snows of the year, although up here at 9,000 feet, I'm told that, you know, it can snow on the 4th of July. So we'll see. I'm going to wander down a little bit down this hill and see if I want to follow this pipe or not. I'll make a decision here in a second. All right, so there's the tank up there. I'm going to zoom back out again. You can see the white line right there. That's the pipe running down. And then the black line right here. It's running down, and then it crosses the creek and goes to the other side to get to the cabins. I think I'm not going to follow it today. I'm going to wimp out. The water level is pretty high. I'm reasonably sure that I'm going to get my feet soaked crossing through this stream. And with the weather today and being up here by myself, I do not want wet socks and boots. So we're going to keep walking back down, and I'll kind of show you the pipe where I can see it. Basically, it crossed the river right there, and then it's going to run across this mountainside, around this rock, kind of across the mountainside to get farther down that way, and then it goes down towards the cabins. All right, so I made it down from the trail, which is right there. And I don't know if this will give you a sense of the scope or the size of this thing, but where we were just at, this trail right here kind of goes up. That switchback's about right there. Trail goes up and around back there is about where that tank is. And I kind of showed you up there how the water line comes down, crosses the river, goes around that rock, and then it goes across this hillside. You can actually see it if I zoom in right there. Right there's the line going across. And so it goes all the way across this hillside, up the road a bit to about here, and then down, and then across the road. And I'm going to walk up there and show you that now. So here's the hardtack mine. We've shown you some of that before. We still need to do a better mine tour on this channel, so we'll do that eventually. I'm still trying to catch my breath. I figured since we're at 9,000 feet, that walking 100 yards is equivalent to a mile at sea level. At least that's my training strategy for the half marathon. So I'm actually starting to sweat a little bit, even though I'm standing in a snowstorm, hiking up these hiking up these trails. So here's the line. You can see it, it comes in right there. It's that black line coming across. And then it tees off and comes down this hill, right to right there. And then it goes in a culvert underneath the road and comes out right there. So there it comes out right there. And then I'm not gonna go down there because this is all muddy and wet, but right down there is the T junction right about there. I think you can see it in the video. And the left one goes to our cabin and the right one goes to the parents' cabin. And so we supplied 2 cabins from this water supply. And then there's an additional T, if I look back up there, that continues to go across the hill that way and supplies water to the outside of the hardtack mine. Sometimes you do some gold panning with the kids and whatnot from the water coming down from there. That all comes from that same filter and tank up there at the Crystal Creek. So let's walk down to the cabins. We're going to show you our cabin, so the one that goes this way, and it kind of comes down the road here, just goes across this hillside. You know, the idea is to keep it slowly trickling downhill the whole way. Try to avoid any bellies where it has to go back uphill again. Otherwise, it's fine in the summer, but when you turn it off, you get water collecting in there, and then it can freeze, and you can get air pockets and an airlock and all kinds of stuff. So trying to keep it on a slow, steady downhill is ideal if possible. So our cabin's just coming into view down there with the green roof, and that's where that line runs down to. So let's head down there and I'll show you how the filters work at the cabin. All right, so we're over by the cabin. Here's the water line coming down the hill. Makes a little loop right here, has a couple of valves and a hose so we can have water at this area too. And then it dives underground and it goes under this area here and under this road. Again, a little culvert underneath there. It's all buried and trenched. And then it comes out right here. And then we've downsized it a little bit. So this is 3/4 inch line, I think. And so now this line kind of comes down through these trees and heads towards the backside of the cabin where we get water. And so this might be frozen in still. We've not energized it yet for the year. So I can't actually show you flowing water, but trust me, it works. So here's the line coming in. We have a valve and a hose bib there. And the reason it's there is that if you have a hose running to run a sprinkler or whatnot, you don't want it after your filters because otherwise it's running constantly through your filters and the filters will clog a lot faster. So we have a little hose set up before the filters. And then we have 2 filters here. Again, they're empty right now, but there's a housing that goes underneath there. In fact, I can show you the housing. It's hanging out in our little mouse-proof cabinet right here. So here's the housing, and it just goes underneath there and screws onto the bottom with a filter inside this housing. Here's an example of one. This is a wound string filter. We don't love these as much because they tend to clog really quickly. So we like the pleated filters, but I've got 2 of them here in series. And the reason is that you can slowly downsize your micron size. So this first filter here, we put a 20 micron filter in there, and that's to catch the sediment and all the bigger crap that comes down the line from the water from the stream. And then right behind it, we put a 10 micron filter. So it filters down to 20, and then it filters down to 10, and then it runs across here and goes into the cabin. And then we actually have a third filter in here, and this is the supply line to the hot water heater. And I put a 5 micron on there just so that you got nice clean water when you're getting hot water in a shower. So this is a little watertight mouse-proof cabinet, mostly mouse-proof, although I see a little bit of evidence, so it might not be totally mouse-proof right now. And that's how we get our water. Yeah, so a system for drinking water. So there are some solutions out there. There's some filters that'll take river water and make it drinkable without needing iodine or bleach or heat or anything like that. There's one that goes underneath the faucet that uses a ceramic filter that's supposed to capture, Giardia and cryptosporidium and all that nasty stuff that you don't want to get from drinking unfiltered river water. But in order for that stuff to work, you have to filter it down to 1 micron before it goes in there. And historically, our water's been too sediment filled from the stream to be able to do that. I'd have to have, a 20, a 10, a 5, a 2, a 1, 4 or 5 filters in a row, and then we lost all of our pressure. Plus, they tend to plug up pretty quick. But I don't know, I might experiment this year a little bit with some smaller filters and see how it goes, because with that tank setup, I feel like we're going to have cleaner water and better pressure. So there might be a world here where we can get drinking water out of the stream, but we'll see. Not really the goal. It's not hard to pack up drinking water either. This is just really nice for washing dishes and watering the yard and taking showers and having a toilet that flushes and all that stuff. The toilet flushing, I didn't mention that earlier. That's probably the most important function of the water line. But so there we are. There's the water line. It's essentially the exact same setup at the other cabin, with the line coming into that whole house filter. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, like I told you, it's snowing right now. It's cold. So I thought about maybe turning it on this weekend. We thought about turning them on yesterday too, but it's going to be cold the next 2 nights when this storm moves out. So I think we're going to wait till next week. And then hopefully we'll have this up and running. And I mean, it's already running from the sprinkler, but hopefully we'll have the cabins up and running and energized with water too. And then we'll start spending some nights up here, and we'll be sure to show you guys what it's like to stay at the cabin and how the water works and the solar and cooking and all that stuff. So yeah, I think that's it from this water adventure. Let's hop in the car and we'll head back down towards town, see what's going on down there. All right, guys, we're back home, just pulling into the garage. Still snowing a little bit, but not too bad. Ground is super warm, so nothing's sticking. It's all just melting when it hits the ground. But I hope that video was a little bit helpful for, somebody out there is, I'm sure, thinking about trying to set up an off-grid gravity-fed water system. And there's just some ideas on how we did it. I'd love to hear from anybody that watches about what you think. And if you've set one up, if you have any suggestions, any comments, anything along those lines. I think that's going to do it for today. Those of you that have been watching this channel, you probably noticed we're kind of all over the place. I don't know what kind of videos we're really going to settle in on. Let us know what you want to see. We've done travel vlogs, we've done Disney vlogs, we've done solar system vlogs and gravity-fed water system vlogs, and I definitely want to do some tech and computer stuff. Coming into the summer here, once things start to open up and the weather gets a little bit better, we definitely are going to do some outdoor Lake City adventure vlogs and show you some of the trails and hikes and rivers, camping, maybe a 14er. I think that'd be good training for our half marathon. And we'll continue the Disney vlogs as well. There's no doubt about that. So stay tuned. Who knows what the next vlog will be. And hopefully you guys are enjoying some of our channels and our content. And we'll see you on the next one.